Good evening, YouTube. It's Logan Albright here, back with another book review for your viewing pleasure. And today I'm talking about the novel White Fang by Jack London. I have here my Library of America edition, and viewers will know I love my Library of America editions. They're beautiful, cloth-bound, sturdy, robust, lots of good editorial notes in the back. Look great on the bookshelf. This is one of two volumes that they have of Jack London. This contains his novels and short stories. The other one contains his political writings. He was a fairly political author of the socialist persuasion, which we will get into a little bit later. But White Fang is his second novel, published in 1906, following his short novella Call of the Wild. And it deals with mainly a wolf with a little bit of dog mixed into his heritage in the Klondike and what it's like there. Jack London worked in that part of the world for a while and found his experiences very inspiring to fiction, and he liked to write about animals a lot, particularly the animals that he saw up in the Klondike, like wolves. I think one of the real strengths of the book is his ability to kind of get inside the head of an animal, a dog, a wolf, and understand how they're thinking. Now, I don't know how realistic it is, but it seems, as someone who's grown up around animals and spent a lot of time around animals, it seems like he has a pretty good understanding of how animals think and how they perceive the world. And I found that very insightful when I was reading the book. I think it's a very exciting book. It's got a plot that you often will not be able to put down. It's got a lot of action. I think it's regarded as a children's book, which I find odd because it's certainly unlike any children's book you'll see written today. It's much more violent and emotionally difficult than children's books you'll see today. As an animal lover, it's a hard book to read because Jack London has a very Hobbesian view of nature, in that he views nature, life in the natural world, as nasty, brutish, and short. He views the natural condition of any animal, including humans, as basically a painful, difficult struggle against the elements, in which death is always just around the corner and pain and suffering are normal. I think that informed his political views, and you see that reflected in his writings. He views civilization, society, and particularly socialism as a way of bringing people together and kind of solving the problem of the brutality of nature. So there's a lot of how tough it is to be an animal in the wild, or even how tough it is to be around humans who aren't that civilized in this book. And that can be hard to read for someone who likes dogs, likes animals in general, because there's some pretty rough passages in it. There's also some anachronistic passages. Jack London was famously sort of a racist. He is the one who coined the phrase Great White Hope. So there's a little bit of ethnocentricity in here. There's a little bit of dismissing, like, for example, the Native Americans as inferior to white people, which is a product of its time and a product of the views of the author. It's not super overt. It's only occurs in a couple of places, but if you're sensitive to that kind of thing, you should know about it. I like to view books in the context in which they were written, of the time they were written, the author's viewpoints, and if you can get past that, I think that it's a very entertaining read. This volume also contains Jack London's other novels, which are Call of the Wild and The Sea Wolf. The Sea Wolf, which is not about wolves, ironically. All of his other books are about wolves and dogs, but The Sea Wolf is just a seafaring story. I've read both of those, and they're both excellent novels as well. I would recommend them. If you like kind of 19th century or early 20th century adventure novels, nature novels, they work great. They're always hard to put down. The plots are always engaging. The characters are good. And the writing is very clear, and I think it's well thought out. There's a lot of good metaphors in it, but it's not overly flowery. There's not a lot of purple prose or anything like that, but neither is it like Hemingway. It's not like so stark and so minimalistic. I think it's a good balance between those two. Like a lot of the writers of the day, he wrote in serialized form, but you have them compiled together in whole books here, and they work really well. They flow really nicely. Chapters tend to end on kind of cliffhangers and leave you wondering what's going to happen in the next chapter. And they're pretty short, pretty quick reads. Call of the Wild is very short. It's like under 100 pages in some editions. White Fang and The Sea Wolf are a little bit longer, but they will be sure to keep you entertained for quite a while if you read them. This also contains his short stories, which I haven't got around to reading yet, so I'm excited to read those. And I haven't read his political writings in the other volume, which you can see up there. I'm going to get to those as well. But, if you want something that's kind of an easy read, it's got animals in it, although they're not always treated so well. It's exciting, it's adventurous, it deals with kind of that American feeling of exploration where you're out in the wilds and the wilderness, dealing with the harshness of nature. I think this would be a very enjoyable book for you to check out. If you haven't read London before, it's well worth doing. even though he has some kind of backwards ideas socially, he's certainly a great writer and one worth knowing about. So that's my review for today. Jack London, White Fang, certainly a classic worth reading. And I'll be back again next week with another book review. If you've got any thoughts about Jack London or White Fang, feel free to leave them in the comments and I will respond. Otherwise, I'll see you next time. Be sure to click that like button, and I'd love it if you subscribe to my channel. Hey, the more subscribers, the better, right? Okay, thanks. I've been Logan Albright. Have a good night.